A glowing tentacle stretched out from the blood-red mist, and with a gentle wave, the man inside was instantly decapitated. However, this was not the strangest part yet. The glowing tentacle picked up the man's head and absorbed it into its own body. Seeing this terrifying creature suspended in mid-air, the two men in the distance were frozen in fear. But little did they know, something even more horrifying was still waiting for them here. This is the latest 2025 American sci-fi disaster blockbuster, S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Shadow of the Zone. After the Chernobyl nuclear leak, bizarre life forms beyond human comprehension began to appear within the radiation-contaminated exclusion zone. What are you waiting for? Quickly tag those friends of yours who haven't been exposed to nuclear radiation yet and show them just how terrifying it can be. The story begins with a nuclear leak at the Chernobyl power plant. Back in the early morning of 1986, due to an operational error at the Soviet Union's Chernobyl nuclear power plant, an irreversible catastrophe occurred. The leaked nuclear energy contaminated thousands of square kilometers of surrounding land, and to prevent further radiation spread, the Soviet Union took immediate action. After months of tireless efforts by tens of thousands of people, the leak was finally brought under control. However, due to severe contamination, the core area of the power plant could not be cleaned and had to be permanently sealed. This area was declared a forbidden zone, with no entry allowed. But humanity did not know that shortly after the disaster, a strange life force emerged within the zone. Under its influence, the surrounding space was also affected. Time quickly passed to 2006, 20 years later, and after years of cleanup, the radiation levels around the exclusion zone began to gradually decrease. However, during the cleanup, workers discovered strange phenomena within the zone. Some claimed to have seen trains floating in the sky, while others reported terrifying monsters. News of supernatural events at the nuclear power plant quickly made global headlines. Curious to uncover the truth, some thrill-seekers began exploring the zone. These adventurers became known as stalkers. This man, named Crow, is a lone wolf stalker of the Forbidden Zone. It's said he once ventured alone 10 kilometers deep into the zone, reaching the heavily contaminated train station. Ever since hearing rumors of supernatural occurrences in the zone, Crow had entered the radiation zone many times. But after so many trips without encountering a single strange event, he began to believe the stories were fake. One afternoon, while wandering the streets as usual, Crow was suddenly stopped by a mysterious stranger. The stranger wanted to team up with Crow to venture deep into the zone, but Crow was initially uninterested.
Here's some of those friends of yours now include Beauty. Your neighbors now?
Yeah, if you can believe it. It's just a temporary setup until we can get everything taken care of. I mean, you know how it is. Things are weird right now.
Hearing the stranger's invitation, Crow's curiosity was piqued again, and he followed the stranger to a secret base. As soon as he entered, Crow noticed there were many other explorers inside. The stranger introduced himself as Monk, the leader of this team, and the people in the hall weren't outdoor adventurers. They were a special unit from the U.S. Navy SEALs. Their mission to enter the zone was prompted by an earthquake 2 months ago. Around 60 days ago, a magnitude 6.7 earthquake struck Chernobyl's core area. At first, geologists thought it was a normal geological event, but shortly after the quake, U.S. forces detected a strange electromagnetic signal emanating from the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Not only was this signal encrypted, it was also receiving other signals. But with radiation levels in the zone reaching 2.79 sieverts, how could any electronic equipment possibly transmit a signal? Finding it strange, the U.S. military dispatched a team to investigate, but they soon encountered supernatural events.
Earlier this week, a signal began emitting deep from within the zone, one that can intercept and override anything not using encrypted channels. Effects of exposure from this signal are unusual. Those who hear it abandon their positions, apparently in search of its source, but that's unconfirmed. Simultaneous to this, something resembling the monolith has taken a significant amount of territory almost overnight. Anything not affiliated with this faction, north of Rostock, has either been forcibly relocated or completely eliminated, including us. Any holdings we once had have been completely overrun.
And that wasn't even the strangest part. Shortly after the expedition team went missing, some other explorers who ventured into the zone also disappeared, mysteriously. The US quickly realized there might be an earth-shattering secret hidden within the nuclear plant. To uncover the source of this strange signal, they immediately assembled a new team. Russia also caught wind of this and sent their own team, which entered the zone just 2 days ago. Monk sought out Crow to hire him as a guide to help lead the team deep into the zone to investigate the signal's source. As payment, Crow would receive a large sum upon completing the mission. Though fully aware of the radiation risks, Crow couldn't resist his curiosity and agreed to join. Early the next morning, Crow arrived at the rendezvous point. The team had 12 members in total, all very well equipped. In addition to basic radiation suits, Monk had also acquired an advanced communication device capable of maintaining contact without interference. With everything ready, the team set off into the depths of the zone. Due to years of abandonment, the zone was now covered with dense forests and vegetation. After trekking through the forest for half a day, the team reached an open clearing. Just as Monk was about to let everyone rest, Crow noticed something unusual. Upon Crow's warning, everyone looked up and saw a strange glowing orb in the distant forest, with blue lightning constantly flashing within it, and the surrounding trees scorched red by intense heat. Staring at the floating orb, the team was stunned. As they prepared to collect data, one of the guards suddenly raised an alert. There was a camp nearby. Crow initially thought it was another group of explorers, but before he could say anything, Monk led his men to swiftly eliminate the camp's inhabitants. It turned out these explorers had already lost their minds and become guardians of the zone. If they hadn't taken them out first, those people would have attacked them. Looking at the bodies on the ground, Crow was still in a daze, but just as he was spacing out, a strange phenomenon appeared in the forest. Not far away. But when Crow looked up again, the phenomenon had mysteriously vanished. Turning back, he saw that Monk and the others were also frozen in place. It turned out that they had all seen the phenomenon too, but each of them saw something different. Crow saw human heads, while Monk saw enemies. Gazing at the distant, forbidden zone, Crow felt a growing sense of unease. After a brief cleanup, the team set off once more. After several hours of travel, they reached an abandoned factory just before nightfall. However, just as they were about to enter the factory, gunfire suddenly erupted nearby. Judging by the ballistic patterns, both sides involved were heavily armed. Monk speculated that the Russian team had encountered the zone's guards, so he sent team member OJ to check it out. But while searching the factory, the team discovered several strange corpses inside. The bodies had been decapitated in a brutal manner, and on their clothing, the team found insignias indicating their identities. As they leaned in for a closer look, they realized these corpses were members of the Russian Special Forces. While everyone was still puzzled, OJ, who had gone out to investigate, sent word that the Russian team was camped in the same area where the firefight had taken place. Given how close the two sides now were, Monk decided to forego rest and continue traveling through the night. The team circled behind the Russian camp and pressed deeper toward the nuclear plant, passing through dense forest until a massive radar facility appeared before them. This was none other than the Duga-3 radar, built by the former Soviet Union, rumored to interfere with radio signals worldwide when active. Reaching this point meant the team had now entered the core zone of Chernobyl. Using their equipment, they detected that the radiation here had returned to normal levels. Since nighttime travel was dangerous, Monk decided they would rest here. After an exhausting day, the team was completely worn out, and they soon fell asleep. But as soon as he closed his eyes, Crow had a strange dream. He dreamt of many skulls floating in the sky, all gathering in midair. Just as Crow was about to get a closer look, Monk's voice suddenly called out in his ear.
Crow. Hey.
What? What did Weaver's gone.
Crow jolted awake to find that dawn had already broken. Still groggy, he looked over at Monk beside him, but Monk's next words instantly snapped him to full alert. It turned out that not long after everyone had fallen asleep, something strange had happened in camp. Several sleeping members had suddenly been controlled and wandered off into the zone. Monk suspected that the missing teammate Weaver might have been taken over by some presence within the core zone. He instructed the team to stay alert and under no circumstances fall asleep again. After a quick cleanup, the team set off once more. Passing through the radar facility, they arrived at the train station. This was the deepest point Crow had previously reached. As soon as they arrived, they saw abandoned trains floating in midair. Just as Crow was marveling at the sight, teammate Brain walked over.
Joanna, when she was 8 years old, we lost her to bone cancer. If you can believe it. Ever since then, all my dreams...
It turned out the trains were floating due to magnetic field disturbances in the area. Moving past the train station, the team reached the outskirts of the nuclear plant before nightfall. There they witnessed yet another bizarre supernatural event. A strange cloud hovered in the sky, with golden light shining through its gaps, just like a legendary item in a video game. Monk suspected that the zone's magnetic field disruptions might be connected to this cloud. But just as the team was preparing to collect data, a fully armed zone guard suddenly charged out. Luckily, OJ reacted quickly, firing at the guard. But the bullets passed straight through, and the guard seemed unfazed. Realizing something was wrong, OJ aimed for the guard's head. Seeing that only a headshot could take down the enemy, Monk ordered the team to stay on high alert. Under covering fire, the team entered the nuclear plant, which still looked exactly as it had on the day of the disaster. After a thorough search, they encountered a few more guards inside, but took them down before they could react. OJ noticed that the guard suits were actually old Soviet protective gear. Curious, he removed one of the guard's helmets. To his shock, the guard inside had long since decayed into a corpse. So how was the body still moving? But the team did not yet know that something even more terrifying was waiting for them inside the plant. Monk split the team into two groups, one to stand guard outside, the other to investigate the source of the strange signal. In one of the rooms, Crow discovered a laboratory with documents scattered everywhere. At first, Crow assumed it was simply an archive room for the power plant and didn't pay much attention. But just as he was about to leave, he spotted a smartphone on the desk. Yet smartphones didn't exist 20 years ago. In a nearby box, Crow found a charger and, out of curiosity, plugged the phone in. At that moment, a report on the desk caught Crow's eye. The document detailed a project called Project C. According to the records, this project was initiated by the Soviet Union shortly after the nuclear leak. At that time, strange electromagnetic fluctuations had appeared within the zone, fluctuations capable of altering the surrounding space and magnetic fields. Soviet scientists had risked radiation exposure to conduct research here, but the project was shut down shortly after it began. Crow guessed that the radiation must have been too intense for even the scientists to handle. Could the strange events in the zone be connected to this research? As Crow pondered this, the phone finished charging and powered on. Looking down, he saw a familiar name appear on the screen. Crow took the phone to find Brain, who was busy collecting data.
What are you doing?
It turned out that Crow had seen Brain's name in the phone's contact list. Under Crow's questioning, Brain revealed the truth. He wasn't a participant in the experiment, just someone who knew about it. It turned out that before the nuclear leak, the Soviets had discovered, to their surprise, that the radiation interfered with the surrounding spatial magnetic field. So the Soviet Union secretly launched this project. But the radiation levels at the plant were too high. Even reinforced protective suits couldn't withstand it. So the experiment was hastily shut down. However, many years later, a group of scientists suddenly arrived at the nuclear plant and restarted Project C. This group of scientists didn't belong to any nation or faction. At first, they only intended to study how radiation affected magnetic fields in space. But during their research, one scientist made a surprising discovery. Radiation could also influence the human brain. Using this principle, the scientists developed a device capable of controlling brainwaves.
We think the combined consciousness became self-aware and asserted control over the pilot. This then assimilated everyone working on the project, save for anyone working outside of this place, such as me. We believe what it's after now is just more data. That's why it's calling stalkers to it.
The original intent was to use this device to eliminate violent tendencies from the human brain, thereby creating a peaceful utopia free from conflict. But during the research, a group of explorers suddenly broke into the lab, launching an attack and killing several scientists. The reason these stalkers suddenly attacked was because they had been controlled by the device. It turned out the device was collecting human consciousness, and as it absorbed more, it began to develop its own awareness. By the time the scientists realized what was happening, they were already under the device's control and unable to escape. Before losing consciousness, a friend had passed the details of the experiment to Brain, and the supernatural phenomena seen in the zone were actually traps set by the device, meant to lure in more people. As it consumed more and more consciousness, the device grew increasingly intelligent. Until 2 months ago, when the earthquake in the zone drew outside attention, Brain contacted the military and informed them about the project. The US military was very interested in the experiment, so they had Brain lead a team into the zone to assess the project's viability. If the project proved uncontrollable, the military would launch a missile strike to destroy everything here. But if the experiment could still be controlled, the military would extract the device. Hearing Brain's explanation, Crow finally lowered his weapon. Meanwhile, outside the building, Monk, who was on guard, spotted a group of zone guards entering the perimeter. One of the guards accidentally triggered a bomb set by the team. Realizing the enemy was upon them, the team opened fire. But the controlled guards were completely unfazed by bullets, charging forward like a relentless tide. Inside the lab, Brain had unlocked the logs left behind by the research team. According to the records, the device was located in the power plant's main control room. Brain and Crow hurried to the control room. Brain opened the steel door, and a wave of invisible force burst out from within. Luckily, the force wasn't strong enough to harm Brain or Crow. But when the door fully opened, what they saw inside shocked them. The entire control room was bathed in blood-red light, looking like something out of a nightmare, and in the blood mist, Crow spotted a figure. It was none other than their missing teammate, Weaver. Just as Crow was about to move forward, a golden shimmering whip appeared in the blood mist. Seeing Weaver killed before their eyes, both Crow and Brain were stunned. But before they could even figure out what the whip was, a massive black shadow began to emerge from the mist. As the shadow drew closer, they could finally make out its true form. It was a colossal head made entirely of countless human heads.
We've seen enough. Give the roll.
To increase its processing power, the device had been severing the heads of explorers and using them as biological processors. Horrified, Crow grabbed Brain and dragged him out of the room. But just as they turned to flee, another invisible shockwave struck them. In a daze, Crow was pulled into an illusion. He saw his late wife standing beside him. Overcome with emotion, Crow embraced her. Although she felt incredibly real, Crow knew full well that this was only an illusion. In the next moment, Crow broke free from the hallucination and found himself back in the hallway, but Brain was nowhere to be seen. As Crow looked around in confusion, he discovered a note in his hand. It turned out Brain had been trapped in the hallucination and could not escape. Wishing to remain in that illusion, Brain chose to stay behind. Before leaving, Brain gave the communication code to Crow, instructing him to notify the US military to launch the missile, as the device was now beyond control. Snapping back to reality, Crow rushed to the main hall. He activated the computer and entered the command to initiate the destruction sequence. Once the order was confirmed, a 10-minute countdown appeared on the screen. Without wasting any time, Crow ran outside and informed Monk of the evacuation order from headquarters. Upon hearing the order to retreat, Monk immediately led the team out through the back exit. The team had barely left the nuclear plant when a missile struck. Watching the power plant consumed by flames, Crow thought they had destroyed the device. Was that really the case? And that is the full story of the latest 2025 sci-fi disaster blockbuster, S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Shadow of the Zone. Overall, the film's quality was pretty good, especially the storyline. Unfortunately, due to budget constraints, some of the visuals were a bit rough. That's all for today's review. See you next time.